why Europe and America are having a falling out, and it's not just Trump. Let's take a look. Willkommen! My name is Sean Huggins, and this is React with Hugs.
I want to see how he reacts when he thinks no one's watching.
I can't help it if he's weird.
He's American.
He's going crazy with that work.
Everybody reacts differently.
I think he's weird, but that's me.
He's American, you know.
Welcome to React with Hugs. Let's hop straight into today's comment of the day. So today's comment of the day comes from Assemble Meme, and they say, if you're into some sort of tech and have a degree, you should be able to get some kind of job in Germany. Most companies won't even require good German. Assemble Meme, thank you for the nice comment. This is referring to me saying that I applied to over 70 jobs when I got to Germany, and I got no's from all of them. And yeah, I do have a degree from a university, and I have relevant work experience, and I applied to only jobs where it was 100% English speaking or English speaking with some German involved, because I know that my German isn't the best, especially when I first got to Germany. Obviously, my German was really bad. So I only applied to jobs that were supposed to be English speaking and that were relevant to my education and my previous work experience. And I gotta say, I still got no's from all 70 plus jobs that I applied for. So yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done, I guess. I think that if I lived in a big city, then I would have had a lot easier time finding a more relevant job. But I live in the middle of nowhere in a tiny little village surrounded by other tiny villages as far as the eye can see. And there's just not so many tech jobs, not so many English speaking jobs in that area. So yeah, I think if I were to move to a big city, then it would have been a lot easier. Not a huge problem, but anyways, enough about me. Let's hop into today's reaction. All right, so today we're taking a look at why Europe and America are falling out. It's not just Trump. I have no idea what to expect with this one. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure this one will have some pretty strong opinions in the comments. But let's see. I don't know why America and Europe would be having a falling out, but I guess we're gonna find out together. So, los geht's.
This video is brought to you by Nebula. Last week, former President Donald Trump claimed that, during his presidency, he told a European leader of a NATO member state that he would encourage Putin to invade delinquent NATO members that don't pay their bills.
Sounds like something he would say.
They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Ironic, coming from him and his track record with his businesses. Very ironic, but let's continue.
As you'd expect, these comments sparked a furious reaction from other NATO members and restarted a conversation within Europe about the extent to which the EU should be relying on America, with the EU's internal market commissioner telling the media, we cannot gamble our security every 4 years. American democracy is sick. But while it's of course true that a Trump presidency, or even a Republican-dominated Congress, would probably be disastrous for US-EU relations, a myopic focus on Trump and Trumpism obscures the fact that US-EU relations have been under strain for a while now. Biden's instinctive...
Has Europe and America been straining their relationship for a while now? I mean, I say this all the time on the channel. I don't follow politics. I don't care about politics, either side or either way or either country or whatever. So I don't know, but I haven't heard that like America and Europe were not like friendly with each other or something. I just thought maybe I'm just stupid, but I thought that everything was basically fine. I don't know. Let's continue.
Atlanticism and a mutual interest in defeating Russia have papered over the cracks since 2022. But over the past few years, a number of big, intractable disagreements have emerged, straining the historic relationship. So in this video, we're going to have a look at why the US and the EU are falling out, and ask whether the transatlantic relationship is really sustainable.
Uh-oh. Let's find out together.
Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to
I'll
stay in the
consider
loop
it.
and be notified when we release new videos. So let's get straight into it. As we see,
I think the number one reason America and Europe is fighting is because they're fighting over me. Both sides want me in their country or countries, and I just can't be everywhere all at once. I can only be in one place at a time, one country, one continent at a time. I'm sorry to both sides. I love you guys both equally as if you guys are both my own children, but I can't pick favorites, okay? So I'm sorry, I have to split my time between everybody and love everybody equally, okay? Okay, hopefully that clears things up. Now there shouldn't be any more problems between America and Europe.
there are at least 3 points of disagreement: China, the associated rise in American protectionism, and the Middle East.
Okay.
Let's start with China.
Let's
As
do
you
it.
probably noticed, the US is currently in a sort of Cold War with China, fueled by a whole load of issues including China's unfair trade practices, Taiwan, the South China Sea, and China's growing capabilities in space warfare. China is a rare point of bipartisan agreement in Washington, and while the rhetoric has softened, Biden has in many ways actually carried on Trump's China policy, with escalating technological sanctions and some pretty tough talk on Taiwan. If anything, Biden's stated Taiwan policy has been more forward-leaning than Trump's, with Biden saying on multiple occasions that the US would intervene to protect Taiwan, which would mark a significant departure from America's long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity. While the White House tried to walk...
America with the long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity. Yes. That is exactly what I think of when I think of America and foreign politics.
Back these comments afterwards, Biden also invited Taiwan's de facto ambassador to his inauguration, making him the first president to do so since 1979.
Dang.
Biden has also accelerated America's economic decoupling by introducing more sanctions on China and more subsidies for America and its allies, most notably via the Inflation Reduction Act. But Europe and America just aren't on the same page when it comes to China. Europe shares some of America's concerns regarding Chinese trade practices, as evidenced by the EU's recent probe into Chinese electric vehicles. But while most European countries have relatively benign relations with Taiwan, in general, Europe is neither as invested nor as forward-leaning on the Taiwan question as the US.
I checked out a video a few weeks ago, I think, and it said that China is really taking a lot of the production away from Germany. You know, Germany is known as a global production and engineering superpower of the world, and apparently China is slowly taking a lot of the high quality production away from Germany now, and so Germany lost a little bit of its edge when it comes to the high standard made in Germany German engineering title that they have had for so long. But I think I saw that on this same YouTube channel, just a different video, so that could just be just one person's side of that story. I don't know. You gotta take everything with a grain of salt on these political issues and stuff. That's what I have learned in my time on this earth. There's two sides to every story and a third side after you hear both sides of every story, so you know how it is.
This was made most glaringly apparent in April, when, on his way back from a trip to Beijing, Macron warned that the great risk for Europe is that it gets caught up in crises that are not ours, i.e. Taiwan. This caused quite a kerfuffle in Washington when it happened, with Trump accusing Macron of kissing Xi's ass.
So you have a problem. You got this crazy world is blowing up, and the United States has absolutely no say, and Macron, who's a friend of mine, is over with China, kissing his ass, in China.
But what was actually most notable about this episode was how few European politicians explicitly disagreed with Macron. The only notable figure was Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, who's since been replaced by Macron's best mate Donald Tusk. And the muted reaction from the rest of the EU suggests that, while Europe of course cares about Taiwan, Europe's priority is de-escalation. And they don't like the bellicose sounds that sometimes come out of Washington, especially because they worry it's distracting NATO's largest member from Ukraine.
You can't be distracted from Ukraine, that's for sure.
The second point of disagreement is protectionism, which is on the rise in the US. Again, this is one of the few things Democrats and Republicans agree on, because it's seen as a response to both China and the decline of American manufacturing, which are both bipartisan issues. Again, while Europe is also showing more interest in protectionism, it's not as committed to so-called onshoring as America, mainly because, well, Europe just can't do economic self-sufficiency like America can.
Oh.
Unlike Europe,
Europe can't do economic self-sufficiency like America can. Okay.
America has a massive pre-existing industrial base, a booming energy industry, and access to lots of the minerals critical to the energy transition. Europe also doesn't have as wealthy a domestic market as the US, so they still need export markets like China to fuel demand.
I see.
But perhaps the main...
I mean, let's be honest. America doesn't shy away from importing crappy products from China, that's for sure.
thing is that, because the dollar is the world's reserve currency, the US can also borrow way more money for stuff like the Inflation Reduction Act, which could cost upwards of $1 trillion. Conversely, rising borrowing costs and weak growth are forcing Europe to rein in its subsidy programs and even return to austerity. This is one of the reasons Europe reacted so furiously to the IRA. Not only was Europe not included in the preferential treatment clauses because the EU doesn't have a free trade deal with America, but more pertinently, the EU knew it just couldn't compete with America's subsidies. The final point of disagreement is the Middle East. There's always
this is an obvious one.
Been an uncomfortable transatlantic asymmetry over the Middle East, because America has more influence in the region, but Europe is more affected by negative externalities, i.e. when the region is destabilized, it's Europe that's most affected by the subsequent uptick in migration.
The immigrants coming from the war zones, yes, definitely. Definitely a lot of people from that region that are moving to Germany. I have seen it myself, for sure.
And often terrorism. This tension has become apparent with Gaza.
That makes sense.
While Europe is, of course, more pro-Israel than the global median, many EU leaders are angry with America for failing to de-escalate the conflict, as evidenced by Josep Borrell's slightly astonishing comments this week.
Who is this guy? Is he from Belgium? Is this the Belgian Bernie Sanders?
How many times have you heard the most prominent leaders and foreign ministers around the world saying too many people are being killed? President Biden said this is too much on the top. It's not proportional. Well, if you believe that too many people are being killed, maybe you should provide less arms. Everybody goes to Tel Aviv begging, please, don't do that. Protect civilians. Don't kill so many. How many is too many? Which is the standard? But Netanyahu doesn't listen to anyone.
Another good point.
They're going to evacuate. Where? To the moon?
Another good point. Maybe Mars, if Elon Musk has anything to say about it. But another good point by Belgium Sanders.
Are they going to evacuate these people? Stop saying please and doing something.
One of the structural reasons behind this tension is energy. Thanks to the shale boom, America is now one of the world's biggest hydrocarbon producers and exporters.
Oh, wow.
This means America has less of an incentive to maintain stability in the region, because it no longer needs the Middle East's oil, and can generally tolerate higher energy prices. In fact, during the pandemic, Trump actually stepped in to stop a price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, because low prices were threatening American producers, much to Europe's irritation. This is also one of the reasons why Europe is generally keener on rapprochement with Iran, which would otherwise be a major natural gas supplier to the EU. So where does the transatlantic relationship go from here? Well, Trump could be the nail in the coffin, especially because the Trumpist isolationism in the Republican Party shows no signs of abating anytime soon. Nonetheless, there's cause for cautious optimism here. The relationship survived the first Trump presidency, and the two have overcome their differences before. Ultimately, only time will tell. But perhaps the headline takeaway from this video is that Trump isn't the only threat to the transatlantic relationship, and it would be a mistake to slip into complacency if Biden survives 2024.
If he survives 2024... Dang. That makes me sad. Wow. A lot to think about here. It's kind of crazy that a few people in America and a few people in each country in Europe control so much. Like, just politics in general, like, is so crazy to me that somebody can have such an effect on the entire world, or a group of people can have such an effect on the entire world. Because if you told me that there was like all these problems between Europe and America, I'd be like, no way. But apparently the politicians are hard at work to do whatever they can to make problems for somebody, which sucks. But I'm curious what you guys have to say about it. Do you think that America and Europe have a big problem with each other? Is the biggest problem the fact that I have to choose between Europe or America? And because that is definitely and obviously the biggest problem between America and Europe, what do we do about it? Let me know your thoughts from the experts down in the comments below. But at any rate, that's all the time that I have for today. Thank you guys so much for being here, and as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.